We're going to move on now to this story. What's Tony Blair been up to? Cressida, have you got this? It's in the Sunday Times.
Tony Blair Institute kept advising Saudis after Khashoggi's murder.
So we should clarify. So this is the murder of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. You remember this? You know, remember what happened here? So
2018, I think, was it 2017?
Yeah. 2018. Yeah.
He's living in Turkey because he's exiled from Saudi, right? So he's fallen out with the Saudis. There's a Saudi journalist who's written against the Saudi regime.
Yeah.
And he has to go to the Saudi embassy. I think, is it for his
Saudi consulate in Istanbul for some paperwork.
It was in
Istanbul. So it's for paperwork. It's not meant to be a big deal. He's going to do something with his visa, something like that, and he gets murdered.
And dismembered. I mean, absolutely horrific crime. Now,
and nobody's debating it. That seems to be... Well, the Saudis are debating it, but...
Well, they might be, but this article in the Times says that the Crown Prince approved the assassination.
The Crown Prince never accepted that, although a CIA investigation concluded that he had ordered, but the Crown Prince never accepted that.
So the CIA have determined that's why the Times can say quite definitively
that's the reason.
I see.
The Crown Prince said, I accept responsibility because it happened under my watch, but they said, essentially, there were some rogue elements that went beyond the arrest mandate.
So this is tricky. Tony Blair is getting into trouble here because the Tony Blair Institute has continued to work with and advise the Crown Prince and the Saudi regime as it currently stands. Now, this does raise some interesting questions because obviously this is a regime that is very backward, that is very regressive, but is in some ways making incremental changes towards being a more progressive society. So this kind of thing, political assassination or whatever it might be, if these things are going on, let's face it, there are other human rights abuses going on in Saudi Arabia. But does that mean that until they reach the level that we expect them to be at, we shouldn't advise, participate, interact with? Because doesn't that slow the progress?
Absolutely, and this is Tony Blair's defence, isn't it? It's sort of Dennis Rodman with Kim Jong-un kind of thing.
Yeah,
let's not stop talking altogether.
Yes.
You have to take that.
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, Nicholas? I mean, it reminds me a bit of when the UK government were having secret talks with the IRA, even at a time when they were breaking ceasefire. But, you know, as politicians have explained, you know, this was the only way to reach the Good Friday Agreement, which they eventually did. So what do you do? And
the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has made monumental reforms. Now women have started to drive in Saudi Arabia. They've been allowed into the movies, into stadiums. So he's gradually, and this is the big dilemma of the West. You can't win because you need to deal with these people. And in his defense, I mean, I'm a bit uncomfortable, but I'm defending Tony Blair because he was, together with Trump, they brokered these so-called Abraham Accords, which brought 2 or even 3 Arab states into peace deals with Israel, and they wouldn't have done it without the go-ahead from the Saudis. And Saudis might be actually next.
Exactly. So in order for progress to be made, we do have to keep these diplomatic channels open. I mean, you know, when you say it like that, you know, they've allowed women to drive. I mean, from our perspective, it's like, well, you know, good for you. Like that's a bare minimum, right? But we're dealing with a deeply misogynistic society that sees women as second-class citizens, and gay people as second-class citizens. So they do need, you know, some sort of interaction with others.